Well, hello, General Hospital Daily Recap fans. Today's daily recap is for Friday, May the 2nd already, 2025. Well, I'm going to talk about what pissed me off. And I didn't even take a picture of it because I was pissed off. Guess what Drew's doggone DAMN, because Daily Recap Lady don't curse on purpose. I was doing a whole bunch of cursing as I was watching this. But on the recaps, I got to keep it clean, right? Those dad gum papers showed he had ketamine in his system. I was so pissed. Why would they write that way? Drew is the main one paying everybody off to lie and do his bidding. For them to write that they allegedly Dr. Gannon took care of this personally. I don't give a doggone how personal he took care of it. He doesn't work in the lab. He would not have been breaking down he wouldn't have been doing that. Nina should have called Portia. Portia should have called Brad. There is no way on earth that those test results should have shown that. None. So when that happened that way, I said, see, you know what? This is the kind of thing that really pisses you off. Because now he goes to Nina. When Dr. Gannon told him the test results, I do thank you for standing by me so that I could prove that it wasn't that I was drugged. And she looked at him. She said, yeah, it does show that. Mhm. I'll see you at home. And he goes, um, no, she goes, I'm going home. And he goes, wait, Willow, Nina's home or our home? She goes, our home. And I thought, of course, Willow, of course you are. And so he goes, but I got something I want to take care of. You go ahead and take the car. I'll get a ride share. She goes, fine. Right? Carly comes to Nina's. Oh, is she? She's like, Nina, I know. I know this is you. Oh my goodness. What a good job you did. She goes, this is Jacinda. and Nina goes, yeah. She goes, Jacinda works the Metro Court. So she goes, but how did you blah, blah, blah. And so Nina explained it to her, and Carly said, okay, but what got Drew to act like this? And she goes, ketamine. Carly looked at her and said, ketamine? You couldn't have found something that was going to leave his bloodstream within a few hours? you know? And Nina's like, well, everything would have been fine. But then he insists on taking Willow to GH, with him to get the blood test. And Carly says, you do know this is going to push them closer together. And Nina says, well, no, I mean, what did she say? She said something, and Cardi says, Nina, no, they don't know it's you. But now, if they find out, Drew finds out he's been drugged, he's going to milk that. She says, but I don't care if he's been drugged or not, because ketamine is a recreational drug. Nina said he going to have to say he didn't take it. That doesn't mean everybody's going to believe he didn't take it. Willow might believe it, but that doesn't mean the rest of Congress and social media is gonna believe it, right? And so Carly says, yeah, that's fine. But here's the thing. Michael's going to have Diane use this and they're going to take the kid. Michael's not going to let Drew raise his kids. You understand that? Not going to let him do it. And Nina says, yeah, I know, I know. So she goes, Nina, you have to really find a way to get Willow away from Drew. She goes, I've tried, Carly, but I can't overplay my hand. You know, I still have to be supportive to her through this whole ordeal, right? So Carly's like, I'm just saying, see, because look, Nina don't know that Carly's the driving force behind Diane taking those kids. Good. I'm glad Carly is double agenting that, right? But Carly's not going to try to keep the kids from Nina. And quite frankly, Carly wouldn't try to keep Willow from seeing her kids. That she doesn't want her grandchildren under Drew's control. That's all that is, right? So anyway, as they're talking, remember, Willow told Drew she's going to their house, but she went to Nina's house. And when she walked in the door, she hears Carly talking to Nina. Now, she didn't hear their conversation because she just walked in. As soon as they heard the keys, they still coughing, y'all. Oh, they turn and look at the door and see her coming in. So she's looking at the two. Now, I know Carly. On Monday, oh, Carly's gonna rub in that video, that photo, all in Willow's face. She's gonna make it like she came to Nina to rub it in their faces, right? Because that conversation doesn't mean at all or even sound like they working together at all. Carly's gonna be Carly. And Carly's gonna tell her, look, because no, Willow's gonna be, the drug test shows there's ketamine in his system. Drew was drugged. And Carly will probably say something like, or you think he was drugged. Drew could have took that. And she'll be, I know Drew. And the Drew I know would not take drugs. And Carly will tell her, I knew Drew much longer than you knew Drew. And the things Drew has done is not the Drew I know. So Carly hopefully will sow enough seeds of doubt. And then she'll tell her, you see this? My son's gonna have a field day on it. And then this is probably how Willow's going to say, well, I flew all the way to Germany and Michael wouldn't even see me. Carly say, good. He's trying to heal. He's trying to get back here. So I'm happy he refused to see you. But then Carly is going to call and ask him. She really is. And he's going to find out, nobody ever told me she was here. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's what I was just like really pissed at, was how easy they let Drew slip through, get out of that. I don't like it. Writers, I don't like it. Then he goes to Mac, because Mac was there talking to Felicia when he told Willow, I'll get a ride share. There's something I need to do. He goes over to Mac and says, with the paper, I need to report a crime. And Mac says, okay, what? And then he goes, gives him paper. I was drugged. And Mac reads the paper. No, Mac reads the paper and he goes, ketamine. He goes, that's a recreational drug. And Drew goes, I didn't take it. I've never taken it in my life. Mac says, are you sure? Are you sure you just didn't take too much of it? I like that. I did like that Max said that, right? Whoa. And he looked at Matt because, yeah, Drew, I didn't do it. Wasn't me. Mm, right? So, anyway, we'll see where that goes. Now, on to what I liked, what was emotional for me. The finish of Brook Lynn and Tracy's conversation. Brook Lynn tells her, I know you must be disappointed in me, grandmother. And Tracy says, to the contrary. Brook Lynn, that was your decision to make. Yours. And you were a child. No, it's funny, Brook Lynn didn't say how old she was. You were a child. And you would have been a child raising a child. And she says, and I knew that wasn't me. She says, I had my music. I mean, I was still in high school and I had just my whole life that I was seeing ahead of me. And being a mother wasn't a part of that. She goes, I know that makes me sound selfish. And Tracy says, no, that makes you caring enough for your child to give them up for adoption to go into a good home. And she told her how she told her mother, and her mother told her mother. And so Tracy said, yeah, Lois probably needed some support, a support system to support you. And so Brook Lynn was saying that, um, it's Lulu. And she says, how did Lulu find out? Because she goes, my son is out there. And she goes, oh, you had a son? She says, yeah, Lulu told me. And Tracy says, how did Lulu come upon this information? So she tells her she broke into Martin Gray's room, that her mother had seen Martin because she wanted to make sure that the records, that the adoption was sealed, closed, and Lulu read his notes. She was supposedly there looking for information on Charlotte, but she decided she read all that and then she's been holding it over my head ever since because she feels that everybody should know and the father should know. And so Tracy says, look, that was your decision. And don't second guess your decision. It's not up to Lulu to decide. And Tracy, and so Brook Lynn said, I I was afraid you would take Brook Lynn's side, I mean Lulu's side. She goes, I love Lulu, but Lulu is arrogant. Lulu is self-righteous. Lulu is reckless. Lulu, I mean, she just named all of Lulu's attributes. She says, but I don't love her any less. But don't be mistaken, Brook Lynn. You are my granddaughter, and I love, she may have even said adore you. Okay. And so she says, and Tracy, her voice cracked. Angelica played that scene. Her voice cracked. She was like breaking up. She says, I'm heartbroken. And I was like, oh, Tracy. I was getting a little teary eyed myself. And she said, and she like straightened herself up. She cleared her throat. She says, I'm heartbroken that you were afraid to tell me. You can tell me anything, Brook Lynn. Anything. And she says, does your father know? She says, no. And Tracy, later on in the conversation, told her, look, your father don't have to know. she says, you choose who you want to know. And it is none of Lulu's business. She said, so I am proud of you and I support you. And so they hugged, and I thought, now that was a good doggone scene, okay? Now, Lois, Lucy, Maxie were in the kitchen area, and they were discussing plans for the nurses' ball, seating and everything. So you know what I did, everybody? I fast forwarded all of it. I can't tell you what they talked about. Don't care. Can't stand the nurses' ball. Can't stand it at all. So anyway, I guess Maxie stayed because somehow Brook Lynn got word or something that she talked to Maxie. So Maxie stayed, and Brook Lynn said, thank you, Maxie, for staying behind. And she says, yeah, sure, what's up? She said, what's up is, Maxie, you have to choose. And Maxie says, wait, what? Your best friends with me? No, she goes, you have to choose who you're going to stand by, me or Lulu. And Maxie says, Lulu is my best friend. And so are you. And Brook Lynn said, exactly. And right now, it has gotten to the point that you can't have both. You can't have it both ways. So you need to choose. And Brook Lynn walked away. And I thought about it. And I thought, why? Why should Maxie have to choose between the two? Because she goes, you've stayed neutral. Well, you can't stay neutral anymore. And I'm like, why can't she? Okay. Lulu hasn't told Maxie who the father is, which she will though, but she hasn't. Brook Lynn hasn't told Maxie because right now she knows Maxie's too close to Lulu. I understand that, right? But none of this is Maxie's doing. And Maxie hasn't done any of Lulu's bidding to Brook Lynn, any of Brook Lynn's bidding to Lulu. The only thing I didn't like is when Tracy hired Lulu to be Brook Lynn's assistant, Maxie should have put her foot down. And Maxie should have said, no, she'll be my assistant. Or we're going to swap assistants. Because I already know that dynamic is not going to work. Not going to work at all. So anyway, if I were Maxie, I would choose Lulu. And here's why. And guys, you know I can't stand Lulu. Can't stand her. But who has Maxie known the longest? And who has Maxie been friends with the longest? It's Lulu. And her best friend just woke up out of a coma. It's Lulu. Now, she and Brook Lynn became friends through the Bailey Lou situation, right? But don't be misled. Brook Lynn was saying she was pregnant, and Brook Lynn was not pregnant. And Brook Lynn needed a baby. Short of buying one, actually, remember she did. She asked her mama to get her a baby. Brook Lynn was trying to get a baby off the black market. Okay. Maxie needed to get her baby out of that psychopath Peter's clutches, right? The situation worked. Didn't work because they were best friends. They still weren't best friends. Brook Lynn needed this. That's why she did it. Brook Lynn's not mama material, wasn't, but she needed it. As a matter of fact, Remember Valentine and Charlotte were living at the Quartermain mansion, or shall I say Hotel Quartermain. They gave him a whole wing because they didn't want to see him, right? He took care of the baby more than Brook Lynn took care of that baby in the beginning. She had no motherly instincts. She wasn't a mother. Valentine was nurturing her to care for this baby. I really liked him through that whole storyline, right? So once, then Chase ended up being, he was his whatever, but the whole Peter August situation came to an end. Maxie was giving her baby back. Then she and Brook Lynn, especially Maxie, had an appreciation for Brook Lynn and thanked her profusely for what she did. But Brook Lynn had to distance herself from the baby. Remember that? And Maxie asked her to step back and distance herself from the baby because she needed to bond with her baby. And she needed Brook Lynn to break ties with that motherly bond, because at that point she did have a motherly bond to Bailey Lou. It was hard on Brook Lynn, but she did it. She stayed away. She and Maxie then started developing a friendship after that point. After that point. And it was a deep appreciation for what Brook Lynn did for Maxie. That's how Maxie looked at it. And then she saw Brook Lynn in a different light. Because her and Lulu both couldn't stand her. Well, nobody could stand Brook Lynn. Half the time, Brook Lynn couldn't even stand Brook Lynn. And that's the truth, right? So, as much as I can't stand Lulu, Maxie and Lulu have been friends much, much longer. Ride or die girlfriends. So if I'm given that kind of choice, I would choose Lulu if I were Maxie. And that's just me. Now, let's get to the beach party. Vaughn and his gorgeous self. I can see Vaughn and Joss, but look, they spies together. They ain't supposed to have who says spies can't have a relationship together? I guess they can, right? Anyway, Robert and Anna both work for the WSB. So, he comes up to the beach, woo, 6-pack, 8-packing it up. I should have taken a picture of that. And Emma is like, ooh, and he walks up to them and he goes, excuse me, this is my towel. Because where Jocelyn was standing, she was almost standing on his towel. He goes, excuse me, this is my towel. And she goes, oh, and she steps over and he picks it up. And Emma's like, what have you been doing? He says, oh, swimming. She goes, are you with the college party? He goes, oh, no, I do my nightly swim, my nightly mile swim. And Emma says, isn't it cold? He goes, absolutely, the water's cold. However, it keeps the heart pumping. It's good for you, health-wise. Now, she had just been teasing Gio that it was hot. Let's go get in the water, right? And so Emma says, he goes, hey, look, you want to join me? I'll go back in. And she looked at Gio. Gio said, I don't have a swimsuit. Emma says, shh, neither do I. Emma takes off her shorts and her shirt, but she makes sure she takes the flash drive out, really puts it in her pocket deep. And Jocelyn's looking at it, and Vaughn's looking at her. Vaughn takes them into the water. Jocelyn instantly gets the flash drive. Remember, she's going to have to try to corrupt it, clone it, corrupt it, and blah, blah, blah. Well, they get out the water after a while. Jocelyn just comes back, and Vaughn, they're like, "Where were you?" Jocelyn said, "Oh, I went for a walk down the beach. I wanted to see the sunset. You guys just getting out the water?" And Emma's like, "Yeah, oh my God, it was so cold, but it was fun." So she went to go reach for her shorts, and Jocelyn showed kind of had the flash drive in her hand so Vaughn could see it. And he's like, So he goes, "Hold up, look, here's my towel. Use my towel to dry off a little bit before you put your clothes on. You don't want to get your clothes soaking wet." And Emma goes, "Oh, okay." So Emma dries off and she goes, "We getting ready to go by the bonfire. I gotta warm up." So her and Gio go to the bonfire. And Jocelyn says, "Yeah, couldn't keep them in there a little longer." Vaughn said, "That water is cold and we were turning blue. You couldn't work faster, Jax?" And she goes, "I had to clone it, corrupt it, and then now try to put it back." He goes, "What's this switch?" He goes, "It has to be this flash drive. This is her personal flash drive. I can't just switch it. It needs to be this one." So he goes, "Then, Jax, you gonna have to figure out a way to get that back in her pocket." And Danny kind of bumps into her and she turns and she looks at him and he goes, um, this isn't, and Jocelyn just looks at him and says, "Okay, you didn't see me and I didn't see you." He goes, "Yeah, that'll work for me." And he turns back around. Now, for one thing, Jocelyn didn't even really need to say, "You didn't see me, I didn't see you." Jocelyn should have just said, "Danny, what you doing here?" Because Danny didn't know Vaughn from Adam. Danny didn't hear their conversation. Jocelyn could have just been talking to some guy at this college beach party from the college she goes to. He's a high school kid. Now, when he and Rocco first got there, he told him, "We got to blend in, Rocco. We can't look like we're high school kids." He goes, "How do we blend in?" He goes, "Come with me." So he goes over to the drink table and he goes, "We'll have 2 beers." And the guy said, "Oh, you don't want no beer?" Because he dropped the keg. So it's going to be a bunch of fizz in there. He goes, "You want some of this," whatever he called the drink, right? So Danny and Rocco get their little red cups and they walk away. And Rocco says, "I'm not going to drink this." And Danny says, "I'm not drinking it either. Remember I said we got to blend in, Rocco? Look around. Everybody here has a red cup. We got to blend in." So 2 girls were walking by and Danny goes, "Hey, ladies." Danny is something else. Danny is a smooth little operator. He has his mother's outgoingness, right? And they stopped and said, "Oh, do you guys go to PCU?" And Daddy says, "We're freshmen." And he goes, and they look at Rocco and he goes, "Oh, right." I forget what he says, cousin, friend, whatever. He goes, "He's shy." No, introvert, extrovert. He's an introvert. But yeah, we're freshmen. And Danny's just, and so one girl looks at him and she goes, "Well, my name is blah, blah, blah. What's yours?" And he says, "Rocco." She says, "Rocco? Well, that's an interestingly cool name, right?" And so he was like, "Oh," and he's a little nervous. So he takes a sip. And I said, "Wait, Rocco, what you doing?" So the other girl's talking to Danny. And they said, "Hey, we're going to go play, I think, some kind of ball down the road, right? Some kind of beach ball, some game." And Danny says, "Yeah, shoot, I'm down." He goes, "Rocco, come on, let's go." He goes, "No, I don't want to go. I'm going to stay right here." He goes, "Are you sure, Rocco? Do you want me to stay here with you?" He goes, "No, I'm just going to stay right here." Danny goes, "Here, hold my drink because I'm getting ready to go play." Danny was just going to have fun. So Rocco finishes his cup, puts Danny's cup on top of his cup and start sipping Danny's cup. And I'm like, oh no. Oh no. So by the time Danny bumps into Jocelyn, he had been away from Rocco for a long time. And they even had a scene where Rocco had gone back to the table now to get drink number 3. Okay. So Rocco has no, what do you want to say? Filters? No, not filters. He has no, he doesn't understand limits, right? Danny understands blending in, understand don't drink, understand let's have fun. But remember, Danny was sneaking out of the house when he was 14 and Sam was going ballistic on him because he was going to the park and I think he was drinking with his friends, smoking with his friends. He was vaping. Danny was doing a lot, right? Rocco was straight and narrow it, but Danny wasn't. So in my mind, after Jocelyn said, "You didn't see me, I didn't see you," and Rocco turns his back and not Rocco, Danny turns his back and he's talking to the people he was talking to. I was like, you just broke Brother Code 101. You haven't laid eyes on your brother Rocco in hours, Danny. You don't know what is going on with him. And sure enough, the camera pans, and there is poor Rocco. Looks like he fell down there, the way his body is, right? And he had sand on the side of his face. So he probably tumbled a bit. Not bleeding or anything, thank goodness. But see now, look, this is how the boys are going to get busted. And it was Danny's idea. It was Danny's idea. Even though he said, don't drink it, we're not drinking it. But you know what? It was still your idea. And you know Rocco can't survive in that environment. He drinking like that because he was nervous. He didn't want nobody to ask him a question. Come on, Dad. You should have went to the party by yourself. That would have been the better thing to do. So anyway, Monday, all heck's gonna break loose. Dante tries to convince Lulu to drop the story because now she's getting calls from other more major outlets, right? Wanting her to do pieces for them. And he goes, then you don't need to do this piece for Landview, right? I mean, for the banner. And she goes, I made a commitment. And just because Lulu don't like it, I mean, just because Brook Lynn don't like it, I am not about to not do this piece. Because Dante thought he ended up getting her to agree because she goes, no, I agree. I understand what you mean. Because he goes, Lulu, remember when we couldn't conceive? Remember that? Remember, oh my God, the chaos we were going through and the emotions and oh, she goes, yeah, I do. He goes, and for somebody we know to like put a spotlight on it, how would we have handled? He goes, we weren't handling things that well at all, right? And so she goes, no, I understand. I understand. He goes, good. I'm so happy you understand. So you're not going to do, you're not going to do the article. She goes, oh no, I'm still going to do it. Look, I'm not going to let Brook Lynn dictate to me what I do and what I don't do. And he goes, you know, Lulu, you're jealous of Brook Lynn. Of that. And, no, he goes, you think you're jealous of Brook Lynn, but you're really mad at me for not telling you what happened decades ago that means nothing to me in Brook Lynn, but I didn't tell you. And he goes, I know you're still in love with me, Lulu. And she goes, wait, what? He goes, I know you're still in love with me. But you're trying to punish Brook Lynn. When really it's me you want to punish. And she goes, who told you? And he says, you know, Lulu, when you woke, ever since you've woken up, you have, he didn't say, or have given me the blues, but something to that effect. And I went to Maxie just to touch. She goes, of course, Maxie. And Maxie told me, you were going to tell me that night. She goes, yes, I was. You know, I wanted to be with you because I still love you. And Dante said, boy, would I wanted to hear that because I still loved you. And he goes, but so you're mad that I didn't wait for you, that I moved on with my life with Sam. And she goes, no, Dante, that ain't it. Nobody knew when I would wake up or if I would wake up. So, no, I wasn't saying, why didn't you wait? She's saying, I'm jealous. I'm not jealous of Brook Lynn, Dante. I'm jealous of Sam. Sam was the woman you fell in love with. Sam did a selfless act to save my life. And Sam is gone now. I can't compete with that. And so Dante told her, he goes, yes, I love Sam. She goes, because you're still in love with her. He goes, yes, I love Sam. He said, but Lulu, I love you as well. Okay, because look, in the end, where was Dante? Whose bedside was he by? Lulu's. Whose hand was he holding? Lulu's, right? So anyway, we'll see what happens. But now what's going to happen is Rocco's, they're going to end up having to go to GH behind this whole incident with Rocco. And they're going to be holding each other's hand, watch, getting even closer with that. That's pretty much it. Amy Vining, the gossiping Amy as she is, stuck her nose. I loved it. The way she was gossiping about Lulu, saying, look, not Lulu, Willow. We surprised you here. Wow. But look, just because you here, you're not gonna take him back, are you? Oh, Amy was just Amy can be indignantly nosy, right? Well, Willow put her in her place. Said that is none of your business. What I do and what I don't do. What business is of yours is nursing. And you need to get back to doing that. Right? And Drew hears her. And then after Amy walks away, he comes swooping over by the elevator, coming over to Willow. And I can't stand that. Oh my goodness. And that's right before Isaiah came and told him the test results. Want to slap him in his face. So, anyway, everybody, that was it. Good episode. Uh, to me, their sweeps are doing well. Not with a bang bang, but with the attempted assassination on Sonny's life, that was a bang. And they're keeping it up. We got things unfolding. I'm loving it. Loving it. I'll be back on Monday with another daily recap of General Hospital.